Property fans, welcome to our online masterclass. Ciao from Carlo. I'm the founder of the Property Coach and the chief hacker of the Property Hack Club. And welcome to a very powerful and incredibly important online masterclass. And it's all about the power of your property vision. So today really is about how we work and we craft a powerful property vision. And the reason why I think this is actually one of the most important, master classes I'm ever going to show and share to you is because, I get approached every day by tens, hundreds of, aspiring and growing property investors. They ask me, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I raise more money for my deals? How do I manage tenants? How do I buy properties? How do I choose an area? And it is all great because this is about the how, it's about the mechanics. But really, before we get into the mechanics, it's all about the why, okay? Why are you in property? What is your property vision? And I often find that, a lot of work is being put on the how and not a lot of work is being put into the why. And yes, indeed, I know that, the majority of us as South Africans, we implicitly understand that doing property is the right thing. And we just somehow jump into it and we do something, but we do it very often on a more kind of impulsive basis, on a haphazard basis, without a proper vision. I know a lot of you, are young professionals, in your own capacity. And I know that in the companies you work for, sometimes the companies you own, you spend a lot of time working through, what is our vision as a business. You don't necessarily spend as much quality time thinking about what is my property vision. So today I'm just going to give you some powerful, but some simple usable sort of like parameters, some tools, so you can really get to the end of today's online masterclass, with a very strong property vision that is going to serve you very, very well, not just today, not just tomorrow, but, over a period of time. And that vision, I often refer to like fast track your property success or to hack your property success, to take a shortcut, starting slow with a very powerful vision is actually the best way to sort of fast track your property success. So that's a long but important introduction to today's online masterclass. And how do you make the most of today? Number one is we're only going to be together for some 15 minutes. So, make these 15, 20 minutes work, make them sort of count for you. Please, I strongly recommend you to turn off your phone, turn off your other distractions. The other thing is, I'm going to turn on, there's a chat line here, there's a comment section. So ask questions as they come along. Even if you're watching it on a recorded basis, those questions will come to me directly. And for those of you that are watching this masterclass in anticipation of our online mastermind, we'll be able to pick those questions at the live session of the mastermind. Do the exercises. Today, always in every online masterclass, but today more than ever, is not just about you sort of like getting some valuable, input and knowledge from me. It's about you getting to work. So as I sort of like ask you to get on with some exercises, please be very disciplined to do them and do them as we flow. Don't just say, okay, I'm going to listen to the whole online masterclass and then come back to them, because you are going to miss out. You're not going to get the maximum value from today's masterclass. And, once you've done it once, don't be scared. Don't be concerned. Don't be shy. You can watch it as many times as you feel. Today you might just get some messages, some value. Tomorrow or next week or next month, you're going to get additional value. And last but not least, at the end, please don't forget by giving me your feedback. Your feedback makes me better. Your feedback makes these online masterclasses better for you in the future. and for call it future members of the club and of the mastermind. Right. So let's get cracking with that. And the first thing I want to do is I want to ask you a question, which is the following. Okay. Now, today we talk about, a property vision, and I want to ask you a simple question. So, do you have a property vision? Okay. And, please vote on the right side where you see polls, there's a little red dot and it says, do you have a property vision? Yes, and it's a written one or a visual board. Yes, it's in my head, or not really. I just do property. I just plan to do property, but I don't really have a specific vision. So let me know where you stand on that side, right? Okay, so that's number one. And the other thing is, why starting your journey as a property investor? Because I know you are eager to get stuck into the how, but why starting with your vision? Now, what I want to share with you is a very important message, which is, property is easier, but it's not easy. Okay, property is easier, but it's not easy. Because if it was simply easy, number one, everybody would do it, okay? And the reality is that, in South Africa, there's a very, very small percentage of people that are actually investing in property, which in many ways is great for us because it's keeping the supply of buy-to-let properties, under check. But because as much as it's easier, it's not easy, okay? And what also makes it not easy per se is that I can guarantee you that no matter how good your knowledge is, no matter how good your tools are, no matter how good your collaboration platforms are, you are still going to make some mistakes. You're still going to hit a few bumps. You're still going to get your nose like out of joint on a couple of occasions, and you can see my nose has been out of joint on more than one occasion, and it's okay. It's part of the process, and the key thing is how you are going to deal with those challenges, those obstacles. And sometimes those challenges and those obstacles are going to have nothing to do with what you have done or what you haven't done. It's got everything to do with what the market, the economy is going to throw at you. Regulations, laws, economies, recessions, COVID-19, you name it, is guaranteed financial depressions, subprime loans crisis. It happens, I've started my journey as a property investor in 2003 here in South Africa, and then before then as a financial investor, I've seen a number of crises, and I really understand, how important property vision is. I'm going to give you a very practical example. Okay, so you see here a very beautiful picture of the beautiful town hall in Pietermaritzburg, and I want to share a story with you because Pietermaritzburg could very well have been the place where, my property journey was going to come to a sort of a final end. Around about 2006, 3 years into my journey as a property investor, things were going great, but things were going great for me more out of luck, more out of beginner's luck, more than just out of like a deliberate process and deliberate knowledge. And what happens is that when you are experiencing beginner's luck, it's guaranteed at some stage your beginner's luck is going to come to an end. And when it comes to an end, it's going to be sore. And in my case, this happened between 2006 and 2007 in Pietermaritzburg, a city which I now understand quite well, which at that point in time, I'd never ever visited in my life. Okay. And, I fell prey to one of those developers that was selling off-plan properties, with great promises. And I simply bought the wrong property and at the wrong price. And, I had nobody to blame. I had nobody to blame than myself. Okay. And literally 6 months into, so I bought the property. I got like I think it was 90% or 100% bond, because that's what you were getting at that time, no matter how good or bad the property was, which was a problem because at that point in time banks weren't as good as they are now in helping us, because they can help us in telling us, say, Carlo, this is actually not going to be a great investment, and it's not a great investment. We're not going to support it 100 with a 100% bond, but they did. So I didn't have an alert system. Long story short. 6 months later, I realized that I bought a lemon. My definition was a lemon was a property that was taking cash flow out of my pocket every month, that I bought at the wrong price, and it was simply not going to go up in price anymore. And then I started thinking, oh my gosh, what have I done? This property thing, maybe it's not for me. And I really reconnected with my vision. I reconnected with my vision, which I established, around about 2001, on the back of having lost more than R1 million, in the financial services, in the financial crisis, the dot-com bubble, where I basically said, I am committed to invest in property, because that's where like more than 90% of the people have built wealth, are retaining wealth, and I'm committed to have control over my investments, control over my money, control over my time. And I'm going to learn from this expensive lesson. And indeed, it was an expensive lesson because, property fans, I want to tell you that, my wife always tells me that I'm very stubborn, and I think she knows me well since I've been married for more than 10 years. And yes, indeed, I'm stubborn. And I only resold this property in 2015 after having consistently lost cash flow for the best part of almost 10 years. And I resold the property at the same price I bought in 2006. So this was an expensive mistake, and I could have easily said, no more property. Okay, this thing is not for me. But I reconnected with my property vision. And that's a story I wanted to share with you, to say how important that you reconnect with your property vision, because it's the pillar of strength that is going to get you back on the main road where you feel tempted to abandon the main road. Okay, so that's my real story. I go back to Pietermaritzburg now, generally speaking, because there's a beautiful cycle race called Amashova. They start from the town hall, but I certainly don't want to invest there anymore. And I still love Pietermaritzburg, and I've only got myself to blame. Right. So what I want you to do is I want you to start taking a 5-minute break and writing your property vision on a notepad. Okay. Don't make it too complicated. Just go out, be kind of like raw, be real, be true. Don't try to think, is this right or is this wrong? I'm just asking you a question, which is, what is your property vision? I know some of you told me that you have one in writing. If you got one in writing, it's a good opportunity to sort of like, relook at it and put it there and put it into your comment section. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to basically pause. I want you to pause the video. I physically want you to pause it. Okay. Don't go past this point to say, okay, I'll do it later. Don't, because it's an integral part of how you're going to get value from today. So get a notepad, get a coffee, get a tea, and take a 5 minute break and come back in 5 minutes and write down your property vision on notepad. Write it down in the comment section or in the question section box in your sort of like into your video online master classes. So when you're ready, please click play again, and we're gonna continue. Okay? Enjoy the exercise. I'll see you in 5 minutes. I'm gonna stop. You stop the video. Ciao. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back, and I hope you enjoyed the exercise. And now, let's talk about, what your property vision is not. Okay. Your property vision is not your business plan for the next 12 to 24 months. Because I often see, when I ask people, what is your property vision? Well, my property vision is that, in the next 12 to 24 months, I want to buy 5 properties. I want to generate, this type of income. I want to generate this type of profit. That's not a vision. That's a tactical plan. That's a business plan. It's important that you have a business plan, but a business plan is a subset of your property vision. Okay. So let's look at some very important elements of your property vision. So what is a property vision? It's a statement, okay? It's a statement that is written. Those are true critical words. A statement that is either written. Some people like it to make it visual. If you're more of a visual person, by all means, you can build a visual board or something along those visual boards. But it has to describe the fundamental reason of why you are or you want to be a property investor. So it is your deep why. Is the deep why that is going to allow you to sort of use this one as your true north. Okay, is the one that is not going to change whether the economy is doing great or the economy is not doing great, whether your tenants are doing great or your tenants are not doing great. Your deep why is not going to be affected by the short-term vagaries of what you're doing or what the economy is doing. So what is the purpose of a property vision? Now, it's very easy to get bogged down on the day-to-day details of being an investor. And, the property vision is meant to be there to continue to refocus you on the long term. And, like we are going to be property investors for the next 50 years. In actual fact, when we're not here on planet Earth anymore, we're still going to be property investors because we left a legacy for people that we care for or causes that we care for. So we're always going to be, once property investor, always a property investor. The second one, it helps you dealing with short-term challenges and setbacks. So, go back to your property vision and say, this is what I'm doing it. Let me know, because I've never seen a property vision say, I'm going to do this and that unless it gets difficult. I've never seen a vision do it. I'm going to do this, I'm going to achieve that, and unless it gets difficult. Actually, if it's difficult, then you got to do it, okay? Because it means it's actually worth it. So another important thing is that, I'm very blessed, in my life, with my wife, being so supportive of, not just supportive of my personal property journey, but being so supportive of our family property journey. And we have a very clear sort of like family vision when it comes to what property is doing and what property will continue to be doing and will do more of for us as individuals, for us as a family, for us as a wife and a husband. So it's very important that you use this vision to be on the same page with your life partner, even if your life partner is not directly involved with your property business. Okay? Even if you basically, and I know there's some of you that are actually doing property and your life partner is not involved and he says, listen, I don't understand this one, I don't want to do it, but I know you love it, just do it. Okay, so just make sure that you at least share the vision, You don't have to share the operation. You don't have to share the day to day. If you can, you're very blessed, like I am. And if I talk, if I go home and I basically say, hey, I'm really excited because I've managed to raise another 2 million rand of good debt that is going to generate wealth and cash flow for us as a family. I'm not going to give them that look to say, hey, are you mad? What are you talking about? We should be paying down debt. And, as a collective, as a family, we don't call it debt. We call it means of wealth production. It's not debt, it's a means of wealth production. And the other thing, and I'm just going to change here to make it a little bit smaller. The other thing is, it challenges you to really sort of like look deep inside of yourself and to basically say, what do you really do want to do with yourself? What do you really want to do with your time on that day? And that day might be coming next year, might be coming in 5 years, might be coming in 10 years time, when eventually earning money is not your number one preoccupation and number one worry when you wake up on the first of the month, okay? Because that is really the ultimate objective. So think about the property vision as a support tool to achieve all of this. And hopefully you can see how this is now becoming critical beyond the day-to-day. How do I raise more money? How do I find deals? How do I find partners? How do I raise property from money from property investors? How do I set up the right structure? The how. This is about the what, the why, and that's really the exciting part. So, what are the features? They call it the characteristics of a powerful property vision. And I have very specifically put this graphic here. Some of you will recognize it. Okay, so this is a picture of Century City in the Western Cape. You can see the Table Mountain at the back. And as you know, I am not a big fan of the property market in the Western Cape because it suffers from the fact that there is very poor cash flow, and it's really very dependent on house price growth, and house price growth is less within our control and is simply more risky than cash flow. Cash flow is boring, cash flow is predictable, cash flow is safe. House price growth comes and goes. And, as I talk to you, sort of like in 2020, in May 2020, we can certainly see how, markets that, I'm convinced we're going to see more and more how markets that were dependent on house price growth are going to turn against property investors a lot more than boring investments where maybe we didn't expect a lot of capital growth, but we certainly expected and are seeing continued stability and predictability in terms of cash flow. So what are the features of a powerful property vision? It has to be long term. Look at a 5 to 10 year horizon. It's not your business plan for next year. It's not your business plan for the next 24 months. It has to be inspiring. The history of Century City is the history of a crazy man, the Mr. Rabbi and the Rabbi family. They went into this place, and if you lived in Cape Town, I lived in Cape Town for 5 years. I don't live in Cape Town anymore. But you come to the site, where Century City now is, and you cannot possibly think of a worse site than that. If you want to experience what sort of like limitless wind is, you go to Century City, and that wind blows and blows and blows. And when Mr. Rabbi went there and he says, we're gonna build, the next big city, we're gonna call it Century City, people looked at him like he had too much wine the day before, or maybe on the same day. So the power of vision created what is now, a jewel, one of the jewels in the Western Cape, and certainly people that invested in the early days in Century City, I've seen massive benefits from, the vision. So, this is just a good example. Vision has to be inspiring. Vision has to be emotional. Vision has to be motivational. It has to also be easy to explain. Okay, we're going to talk about that. Easy to explain to yourself, easy to explain to others. It has to be memorable. If you have to go back to your notepad to just say this is my vision, then it's not gonna be great. I'm a big fan of Robin Sharma, and Robin Sharma often talks about a brain tattoo. A brain tattoo is really something that is just so deep inside your head, you don't have to think about it. Okay. So, make your property vision a brain tattoo. It has to be concise because that also makes it memorable. And okay, I've got it easy to explain twice because, I think it's just so important, right? So these are features, I'm going to ask you as we progress to go back to your original version of your property vision, the one you crafted at the start of today's online masterclass, and to rework on it, just look at crafting it, like a Leonardo always continue to work on his craft. Just do the same, okay? So, you know, let me first of all share some examples of what I call not so great visions, and I think some of them are copy and paste from exercises I've done, with like aspiring and existing property investors. Say, share with me what is your property vision. You see some examples here to say, like I'd like to own 3 properties without any debt, so I can watch Netflix the whole day. Now, I think I'm the sort of like I'm the one that added so that I can watch Netflix the whole day. Whoever just added the first part. I think first of all, avoid as much as you can wishful statements. So I'd like to, I'm keen on, I'm interested into. I always say that, like I'm very interested in building my biceps. And as you can see, there is no progress. Hopefully, well, thanks God, my shirt is covering the embarrassment of a non-existing biceps. But because I'm interested in biceps, I'm not committed to biceps. Okay. So focus on being committed, being precise on something that is motivating. Because how motivating can be something like Netflix binge watching, and for how long? Or by the end of this year, I flipped 3 properties and made a profit of 200,000. That's great, but that sounds more like a business plan. It's too short term, it's too operational, and when you hit a bump, how are you going to start compromising and say, I will flip 2 properties and make a profit of 50,000. I don't want you to run the race to zero. Or another one is 2 years I will have left my job thanks to my property business. And it's very important that we focus our vision, and it becomes more powerful when it's stated in positive terms rather than in negative terms. Negative terms, I'm gonna stop doing, or I'm not gonna doing this. Make it as positive as you can, because positive objectives are a lot more motivating. And again, I want to travel the world, which is great. I also want to travel the world, but be more specific, because hopefully, we don't have anybody from North Korea as a student. I've never been to North Korea, but do you really want to visit North Korea? It doesn't look like it. So I want to travel the world. Be specific. I want to visit Paris, or I want to visit Rome, and I want to stay there for like 4 weeks, and I want to do it, in this period, and I want to visit this museum because I've always wanted to visit that museum, or whatever. So be specific around your property vision. Right. So these are examples of not so great visions. Hopefully some of you are scratching the head. So let me give you a template. Okay. Now a template that works well for me, has worked well for a lot of the property fans, the students, the property hackers, the masterminders. They have gone through this process before you, and will go through this process after you. It's a template. Is this the only template? No. Okay. If it helps you, use it. If it doesn't help you, don't use it. Just go back to the principles that I've shared with you around why you need a property vision, and what property vision should contain, and what features it should be sort of characterized by. So a powerful template for your property vision could be my property business. Okay, it's a business. Whether you trade properties, whether you invest in your name, you invest through a PTY, you invest through a trust, or you do all of that at the same time like I do, it's still a business. It's a business because a business is designed to also make profit. If it doesn't make profit, it cannot achieve its objective, right? There's a property. My property business will generate X amount of rent, of wealth and cash flow per month, every month. So per month, because I think a lot of us think in months, okay? So keep it that way. Every month, because what is important about business, it has to be predictable, it has to be repeatable, it has to be sustainable. So that's the key thing. By what date, by which day, which month, which year. Be specific, and I would say avoid the 31st of December because it's just too simple to do that, right? Just choose a date. Maybe it's your birthday, maybe it's your wedding anniversary, maybe it's a date where you resign from work, whatever. Choose a date that is meaningful and powerful for you, for your family, in your life. It's a memorable date, so that I can pursue your true passion. Whatever is your true passion, do what you love doing, whatever you love doing, spend time with specific people that you love, and you contribute to causes that you deeply care for. Okay? So that, you see, removes the issue of short term and focuses on why are we actually on planet Earth to start with. And now property is never an end per se. Property and the wealth, the cash flow it generates is always going to be a mean to an end. What is the ultimate end? And I'm going to give you an example, and this is not necessarily exactly me, but I've certainly cherry picked a few points, from my personal, and my family property vision. Since my property business will generate 100,000 rand of wealth and cash flow per month, every month, by the 27th of April 2026, so I can pursue my passion of hiking mountains, spend time with my children without being tired or stressed, and contribute to the development of underprivileged youth. Okay? So that's an example of a property vision which I love, which I think, it would be very inspiring and very powerful. Now, it's a template, doesn't have to follow these steps, but I'm just trying to help you dissecting what you need to have in a property vision so it actually gets the job done for you. Because again, the vision is about helping you to achieve what you want to achieve. Right. So we've gone through a lot. We've been online for more than half an hour. Actually, it turned out to be a lot longer than I thought it was, which is great because it just means that there's just a lot of value, a lot of knowledge, a lot of content that I'm sharing with you before we get into the how. So what I want you to do now is I want you to now pause me again, okay, like you did earlier on. I hope you've done it. If you haven't done it, so I know you are. I'm just kidding. So now I want you to take a longer break. I want you to go back to everything you've made notes on and take a 10-minute break and write your upgraded property vision on a notepad. Okay? We talked about everything, and take a 10-minute break, write your upgraded property on a notepad. I'm just to go back through a couple of slides so you can pause the video and have this one in front of you. So get to work, pause me. I'll be back when you push the button. We'll continue to wrap up this online masterclass. Ciao from Carlo. Make this exercise count. It's going to make all the difference of this world for you. So stick to it. I'll see you later. Ciao. Pause me. Okay, great. Welcome back. I hope, and I'm sure that you've done some great work, on your upgraded property vision. and I am excited and I'm looking forward to hear from you what your property vision is. So, you've got two places where you can put your property vision now. Is one is if you're watching these online masterclass through the platform. The platform has got a comment section when you finish your video. Please, please, please share your vision, inspire yourself, inspire others, inspire me. Put your property vision in the comment section. You also have a comment section and a question box in this video. If you're watching it through our sort of like webinar platform, put it there. I want to hear you. I want to sort of feel your property vision. That inspires me to sort of like, continue to support you and to fast track your property success. And I want to wrap up today in terms of what now, where do you go from here? Okay, there's three very practical things that will dramatically increase the value of the investment in time that you've made, investment in your energy that you've done over the last half an hour. Number one is print your property vision statement. If you're gonna do a visual board, obviously, you make a copy, share it with your peers. Share it in the Property Hack Club community on the group me. Share it on the comment section. Share it at home. Share it with friends. Share it with people you like. Share it with people you don't like. Share it with people you care. Just get used to sharing it, because through the process of sharing it, you're going to do one thing. Number one is, we talked about brain tattoos. You're going to build that brain tattoo stronger and stronger. The second thing is, you're going to build massive accountability for yourself by going out and committing and sharing that property vision with others, whether they like it or they don't like it, whether they like you or they don't like you, it doesn't matter. You are building massive levels of commitment, because guaranteed, some of them one day will ask you, it says, hey, like Sipiwe, hey, Tabiseng, hey, John, how's your property vision coming together? And on that day, you're going to say, oh, I'm pleased that you asked me, because I'm making massive progress towards achieving my vision of building X amount of rent or wealth and cash flow every month, per month, so that I can spend time with the people I love, so I can pursue my passions, and I can do what I love, what I really love to do. And the other thing is, turn this not into like a yearly exercise. Put your vision in a place where you can review it regularly to give you strength. Like the property market is not for the weak, especially at this point in time. Massive opportunities ahead, massive wonderful opportunities for the people with the right vision, with people, the right tools, the right knowledge, the right collaboration platforms. And after today, I know that you are not only one step, you are 10 steps ahead of 99% of the people. Make friends with your property vision, because, whether you're Christian like I am or you're not, where there is no vision, the people will perish. When there is no property vision, your property journey at some stage will perish. Okay, guaranteed. So thank you so much for watching this online masterclass. Thank you so much for participating in this masterclass. And what I want to do is just get your feedback. Let me know either in the comment section. Let me know in the poll section if you're watching it through the webinar platform. Was this masterclass very valuable? Was it somewhat valuable? Was it not so valuable? Give me your feedback. Let me know in the comments what part you enjoyed the most, what part was most valuable to you. Let me know if there's a part that maybe you didn't understand. We got time, we're gonna get together again, so I can actually crystallize it in the future. And again, if you've got questions, put those questions. And otherwise, thank you so much. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay blessed. Ciao from Carlo, founder of The Property Coach and chief hacker of the Property Hack Club. Take action, because nothing works unless you take action. Ciao.